the New York Knicks had the best trade deadline of any team in the NBA, and they are now ready to compete with the best teams in the league come playoff time.
Yeah, I think it's getting better and better every game.
Welcome in. I'm Jesse McNamer, and welcome to Point of View. Before we get into it today, I just want to say we always appreciate your feedback and look forward to reading your comments like the one we've got here. Also, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this episode to see if you can guess today's trivia question down below. To today's topic, now that the NFL season is behind us and we can finally dive into the NBA, and I think the New York Knicks are deserving of attention. Yes, they play in one of the biggest sports markets in the world. They already get tons of eyes on them, but we're going to do it anyway. The NBA's trade deadline was last Thursday, and it was pretty uneventful for 90% of the league. Even the Knicks weren't all that splashy on deadline day, but they took their big swing over a month earlier. But let's back it up even further for a second. The Knicks entered the season with what most considered an above-average team in the Eastern Conference, with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett leading the team. It was safe to say their ceiling and floor was somewhere around the 3rd to the 6th seed in the East, with an outside shot at a conference finals appearance. I mean, they were the 5th seed last season and lost in the second round, so it's not exactly a hot take. And the season was playing out that way until the new year. The Knickerbockers were 17-15 and the 8th seed in the East when the calendar flipped to 2024. That was also when they made their first trade of the season, sending Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and a 2024 second-round pick to the Toronto Raptors for forward OG Anunoby. He was one of the most prized trade assets in the NBA, and the Knicks made sure he played in blue and orange. Their first game as a new unit came against the league's second-best record, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and OG immediately proved that he was a home run. He shot 7 for 12 for 17 points with 3 threes and was a team-high plus 19 in a 6-point win. This ignited the Knicks into the team we see now. Here's what Brunson had to say about Anunoby after that game.
I mean, I remember coming onto the court, and he was just like, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to keep cutting. I was like, okay, yeah, just keep doing it. So, and like I said, he plays, just naturally just plays hard and on both sides of the ball. So when he sees something, he just attacks it, and that's just who he is.
And that's just how Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks have built their team, with hard workers and great teammates. Now, if the NBA season were to end today, the Knicks would have home floor advantage in the first round, thanks in part to a 9-game win streak in January. They've also been one of the hottest teams in the league since that trade. I think they have a real shot at the 2 seed within the next couple of weeks. But the Knicks front office wasn't just satisfied with one beneficial trade and a winning streak. They went into last week's deadline with a plan and executed it, acquiring sharpshooters Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Detroit Pistons and sending out bench warmers like Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, and Quentin Grimes, although I still think Grimes is going to be a really good role player in the future. Now, with all trades done, it's easy to look back and see why the Knicks had the best deadline in the league. They gave up 0 first-round picks and only a couple of rotation players that really weren't panning out in New York, and acquired 2 veterans and a borderline star. Sounds pretty good to me. So with around 30 games left in the season, there's still plenty of time for teams to rise and fall, but one thing is for sure. The Knicks will be the toughest and least fun opponent to play, even into the postseason. They play harder than anyone, and the Knicks fans would do anything for their team, including buying mass amounts of tickets in opposing arenas. Simply put, the vibes are immaculate. Take a look at Brunson getting emotional and hearing MVP chants after a recent victory.
I mean, I got nothing to say.
How can you not love that? I mean, I'm a Bucks fan, and I'm well aware Brunson deserved to be an all-star starter, and I've been converted to be fully on board with the fact that Brunson can lead the Knicks to a deep playoff run. A lot of that still depends on how Randle and Anunoby heal from their recent injuries, but I'm going to be optimistic for now. So while the Knicks picked up the biggest dub in the short term with their moves at the trade deadline, they have incredible potential to rack up even more wins as the season rolls on. Maybe even 16 of them in the playoffs? I think New York might flat out combust if that happened. Another team that's putting everything together is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Be sure to check out our recent point of view to hear more on them. And the moment you've all been waiting for, here's the answer to today's trivia question. We appreciate you tuning into this episode of Point of View, and we will see you in the next one.